So this is the latest installment of shitty footballers around the world doing shitty things. And this might be the most absurd sexual assault thing that we've ever had to talk about on this channel, mainly because we are discussing the sexual assault of a parrot. And I realize that that is probably not the sentence you expected to hear now or ever. In fact, nobody in your bloodline might have ever heard that sentence before. But when I'm talking about the sexual assault of a parrot, I am, of course, talking about somebody wearing a parrot costume on the field. And this occurred in 2019, but it didn't become public until 2024. And the player involved is a guy named Hugo Malo, who's somebody, if you've watched La Liga, you've probably heard of Hugo Malo. He was the captain of Celta Vigo. He made nearly 400 appearances for the club. He started, the kind of post I played at my main club section of your career where you just bounce around and play for a couple of clubs you might want to. He's 34 years old, and he's currently between clubs, which is going to be complicated further by the fact that all of a sudden he's found himself on the receiving end of a sexual assault or a sexual abuse charge. I want to make sure I'm specific there. I believe it's some sort of sexual abuse charge. It is not of the Greenwood level, at least in terms of the photos and the video and the audio that came out from that. It is not the sort of thing along with the punishment that has been levied for this crime is a 7,000 euro fine, which, needs to be paid, and then 1,000 euros paid to the victim. And that's it, right? This is not a you're going to jail operation. This is minor in the realm of sexual crimes. He also, of course, has to pay the legal fees of the other person. So what happened in 2019? Well, there's like a normal handshake line, right? And this guy is literally, hold on, I'm lost. I'm lost in my tabs. I usually have too many tabs open. So there's a handshake line, right? And they're playing at Espanyol, right? He's the captain of Celta Vigo. They're playing at Espanyol. Love the fact that he's the captain. That makes it so much more fun. And as you can see from this video, he kind of daps up this one mascot and then goes in for like a tighter hug with this other mascot, right? But you can't really see what happens from this angle because obviously what his hands may or may not be up to, this angle is going to give you basically absolutely nothing to work with here. But you can see that he kind of pauses there for, he gets in a little close and tight. This is some close quarters operation. And this is right before a match. And then he just goes, right? And you can kind of see the mascot move behind the male parrot, I guess. Every sentence that I say while trying to talk about this story ends up sounding stupid, but that's basically what was happening here. And this in 2019. This didn't become public until 2024. And so I've managed to find an article that runs you through basically how this happened after the actual event. The accuser, who's remained anonymous but was obviously the parrot mascot, previously testified about the incident while appearing before the court of first instance and instruction, whatever the hell that is, on the 27th of June, 2019. So even though it didn't become public until 2024, she basically immediately went, hey, this dude grabbed my boobs for no reason right while we were standing on a La Liga field. This dude just gave me a few squeezes and then rolled. We should probably do something about this. The court gave the case a provisional dismissal, but on November 14th, it denied Malo a free dismissal. Now, I'm not a lawyer in Spain, so I don't really know what any of this means. But the free dismissal obviously would have closed the case. So they're kind of still looking into it. On May 2021, the Provincial Court of Barcelona revoked the court's dismissal, and he maintained his innocence, claiming he did not know the gender of the person in the parakeet costume. I find this particularly interesting because, one, there are two parakeets, or parrots. Nobody seems to be able to get quite clear on what type of bird this is, and I feel like, if we're going to be strict with the legal proceedings here, we need to be clear on what bird we're working with. It looks like a parakeet more than a parrot. I'm going to roll with parakeet, but not 100%. I'm going to need an ornithologist or whoever those people are to come in and inform me on this matter. There are two of them, whatever they are, parakeets, and there is an obvious, gender-coded male parakeet here, right? This dude is dressed like a player during a men's match, and this one is wearing a skirt with a bow on its head. Now, I realize that when you're going down the handshake line, you probably aren't clocking like the obvious female-coded nature of the second parakeet, unless you're this weirdo who clearly figured out that it was a girl, and the interaction that he had with the two mascots is a great example. He's just high-fiving this one, but he's basically blowing by the male parakeet to try and get in to the female parakeet. You're telling me he does not know what gender this parakeet is? Again, every sentence I say in this story is incredibly weird, but I find that ridiculously hard to believe that he doesn't know the gender of the person in the parakeet costume when they're trying to, with the costume, make it very obvious that this is the female parakeet at the Espanol match, or whatever the hell Espanol's doing with a couple of parakeets on the field, which is a question we haven't even attempted to address yet as part of this. At the time of the incident, he greeted Espanol's mascots and players normally. Well, fortunately, because there was a bit of a controversy, particularly after this video came out, you're saying, oh, he's been convicted of sexual abuse. Basically, you know, there's no evidence, right? You can see it right here. He hasn't done anything. He's done absolutely nothing. He just walked, you know, he gives the parakeet a hug and he's gone, which I think is obviously disingenuous and stupid. Whether he's done something or not, it had to have been quick. It happened on a field in front of a bunch of people, and they wouldn't be able to see it from this angle. There is another angle that makes it pretty obvious that, one, he knew the gender of the parakeet, and two, he got to feeling. You know what I'm saying? And it's not like this guy's life is being ended either, because you're right. You know, if you do a drive-by grab of a boob, you probably shouldn't be in jail for the rest of your life. I mean, that is fair, right? And I get where people are coming from, that you're like, well, it's just 2 seconds. How much bad could he have done in 2 seconds that he shouldn't be? You also can't. Like, you can't just walk around grabbing people's boobs with no repercussions. Even if the person's dressed as a parakeet. Dude, this is in public. This is obvious and in public. And I realize the vast majority of the time, if a guy walks by and grabs somebody's boob, you're not going to be able to prosecute it. Because, one, the charges aren't that big, as they shouldn't be. I mean, I'm assuming as somebody that's knows lawyers that there's a repeat offender law. So if you get arrested for squeezing somebody's boobs 5 times on the subway, they're going to be like, all right, we got to put you in jail for a couple of years. You're clearly not getting the fucking memo. But if you're a first-time offender, right, the penalty's not that big, and it's very hard to prove, right, if there isn't video evidence. This happened on a major professional football field, and there is video evidence. Check it out. This is the angle from the side. This is parakeet number 1. This is parakeet number 2. We're going to zoom in on parakeet number 2. Check out homeboy's hands. He gets in there, man. I mean, that is as much as you can do in a 2-second drive-by. You just can't do that. If somebody does not want you to touch them like that in a more private area of their body, you can't just go touching them there. There should be some sort of repercussion for that. So he's not getting thrown in jail. Now, if he does this to 4 more mascots, throw him in jail, right? He's getting fined. He's paying a moral damage. You know, he's paying 1,000 euros to this lady. It's not like, you know, she's getting $1 million. This is some sort of extortion operation. And he's paying the legal fees. This guy was the captain of Celta Vigo. It's a pretty soft penalty. I don't know if it's tiered based off income, but it's obviously not a large percentage of this guy's wealth or income or anything. He could probably pay it very, very easily. Right? The most annoying thing for him is going to be having this file in his just personal record, and he's probably going to struggle to sign with another club because he is now convicted of some form of sexual abuse, which, to be perfectly honest, if you can't control yourself on a field, on a professional football field, for 2 seconds, like this is as in public as you can possibly be. And this dude's he's just trying to sneak a grab, assuming that he's not going to be punished for it, assuming that nobody's going to notice it, assuming that this zoomed in side camera angle doesn't exist. I mean, you got problems. If you can't control yourself in that instance, you got problems, right? And so this guy, Hugo Malo, which, I mean, it's just weird, right? This is just a weird way to carry yourself. He has finally had that come through. He's got 10 days to pay it as of when the charges went down, and he continues to maintain his innocence. And because some people haven't seen the side camera angle, they think that he's innocent. But fortunately, it seems like the more and more I'm reading about it, the general consensus is that, good, yeah, you can't be doing this, right? You can't be doing this. Like, my God, man, it's a handshake line. Hands to yourself in the handshake line. It's the first rule of the handshake line.